Genius Prismatic Mage. Chapter 5. Niles fell silent, his gaze darkening as if he had already foreseen it. There will be war. The cafe owner turned pale at those words, shaking his head as if in denial. But deep down he understood what Niles meant. Real. Really, Niles? Niles ran a hand through his hair, his voice lowering as he struggled to suppress his anger. I can't accept such ridiculous terms. Like them wanting to absorb our organization. This is really the worst outcome. In Sector 50, taking and being taken from was an unavoidable rule of survival. Whoever wanted to run a business had to be backed by some kind of power. The owner understood that well, his eyes weighed down with worry. It's not your fault. I won't be able to open the store for a while. Niles had always chosen coexistence over dominance, a policy that earned him the respect and trust of the street vendors on 17th Street. The owner's words echoed the sentiments of the people. Niles turned and gave Ray a serious warning. Ray, don't leave your hideout in the meantime. Ray nodded. It was a truth that needed no reminder. There are things in this world that, no matter how hard you try to avoid, still come for you like fate. Slam. The heavy door of the shop shut tight, leaving a heavy silence inside. Ray stepped through a narrow alleyway, his mind trying to analyze the situation. I won't be able to walk around if war breaks out. He muttered to himself. Decisive. I need to get as much food as possible before that. Rumble rumble. A sleek black car sped past where Ray was hiding in the shadows of the alley. Ray glanced at it by chance and caught a glimpse of the driver's face. Humphrey. He frowned, a bad feeling creeping over him. I haven't seen a car like that in Sector 50. That's suspicious. Ray's gaze turned cold. He pulled up the collar of his coat, concealing his neck as if to hide his identity. With firm resolve, he thought, I need to investigate IT. At 18th Street, Hector's group entrance, Ray crouched in a bush nearby, eyes following the car that had just passed. Patiently waiting, he saw a group of people bowing their heads toward the car's passenger. WHO is that? From a distance, Ray clearly saw Hector opening the car door, bowing politely and greeting with a smile. We've been waiting. As a pair of shiny leather shoes stepped out of the car, Hector bowed once more and said, We'll escort you inside. Mage. A man stepped out of the luxury car, holding a cane in his left hand, its head intricately carved. Ray couldn't figure out who this man was yet. A dangerous unknown. Ray grew serious, repeating in his mind, WHO is HE? Then he noticed something unusual about the man. Dark blue, almost black, a ridiculously large quantity of mana. It was a viscous, murky stream of mana, dark and slick like oil spilled on the surface of the sea. Ray furrowed his brows, his gaze sharpening. That color looks the same as the mana of golems when they move. Still, that wasn't the most shocking thing he observed. Ray stood frozen, as if he couldn't believe his eyes. Also, he thought to himself, what are those rings around his vessel? The mana surrounding the man's chest was unlike anything he'd seen before. Instead of simply swirling around, it formed large circular bands encircling his heart, a strange configuration. That mana flowed through many reins. Not just one. There's a lot of mana around the reins. Aside from the dark blue, Ray noticed streams of other colors too, though they made up only a small fraction. Normally, human mana fades as their emotions settle. But in this man's case, the mana never disappeared, it merely flowed, slow and steady, through those strange reins. It was as if the mana was trapped inside a cage with no exit. Ray began to grasp the mechanism. It's like he's using those rings to keep the mana from escaping. A powerful curiosity stirred within him, as if his instincts were urging him to uncover this mystery. At the same time, his survival instincts screamed a warning loud and clear. That man is dangerous. There was no time left to hesitate. I need to tell Niles. Ray turned and bolted from his hiding spot, sprinting full speed toward 17th Street. A light rain began to fall, droplets pattering across the streets. By the time Ray arrived, the whole area was in chaos, voices shouting, hands scrambling to transport weapons, all in preparation for the inevitable battle. People were moving like clockwork. Urgent cries rang out through the air. What happened to the supplies? Move quickly. These people were all members of the organization operating in 17th Street. Niles' group. Ray didn't hesitate, rushing up to a man who was directing the weapon transport crew. Where's Niles? The man turned around, startled and shocked to see Ray. Ray? How did you get in here? Ray replied curtly, his eyes serious. The gate was open. The man stared at him in disbelief, mumbling as if unable to make sense of it. This kid. Ray didn't care, pressing the question. Anyway, where's Niles? The man waved his hand. The boss went out to prepare for the war. He added hastily, it's dangerous. So you get going too. Ray didn't have time to explain further. He quickly made a request, then relayed this to Niles. The man frowned, confused. What? Ray thought to himself, an uneasy look in his eyes. I can't tell him about the mana. He gave a brief, carefully worded warning. Tell him to be wary of the man with the monocle. In a small tent nearby, 5 children lay huddled together, sleeping soundly in the dim glow of an oil lamp. Hale lifted the flap and stepped inside, speaking to Ray in a gentle but resolute tone. The war can't drag on. He looked up, as if trying to reassure himself. Still, don't you think it'll end in a week? Hale asked bluntly. Ray, WHO, do you think we'll win? Ray answered shortly but honestly. I don't know. The two groups are pretty equally matched. However, deep inside, Ray thought differently. But Niles has to win for the sake of the children's safety. Because if Hector wins this war, the fate of the street kids would be nothing short of horrifying. Both of them imagined the children being taken away, sold for money. The street children will be sold as slaves. Suddenly, Hale cried out in alarm. The war must have begun. A deafening noise erupted from afar, each tremor shaking the ground violently as if to rip it apart. Both Hale and Ray were utterly shocked. Hale exclaimed, "Did you hear that?" Ray answered immediately, "I did." Ray was tense, his heart pounding in his chest. "I've never heard of anything like this before." Another tremor hit. Ray stood frozen, his thoughts scrambled. Weird. Something's wrong. Scene shifts to 17th Street. 2 members of the Niles group were desperately trying to shoot down a massive golem. To no avail. Bullets rained down on its iron body, clinking uselessly off the surface. No matter how relentlessly they fired, the golem didn't budge. It kept marching forward, each step shaking the earth. As the golem got closer, the 2 fighters began to panic. Their bullets had zero effect. The golem was unstoppable. Their faces turned pale, as if staring death in the face. Stunned and horrified, they watched the golem draw nearer. One of them shouted, his voice trembling, "Fuck, it didn't even leave a dent. What's with this golem all of a sudden?" The giant golem raised its massive arm. A burst of terrifying power shot from its palm. One of the Niles members failed to dodge. He was struck directly. In an instant, his body was split in 2. Blood spraying everywhere. A strangled scream echoed in the air, and then silence. The remaining fighter collapsed to one side, eyes wide in despair at the horrifying sight. Uuaaa. What the hell is this? The golem turned, setting its sights on the final target. The last gunman. He stood frozen, his entire body trembling in sheer terror. Shit. The golem reached out and grabbed the man. With a crushing grip, it shattered his upper body completely. A chilling crack echoed in the air. Blood and organs splattered across the ground, staining it deep red. From a distance, one of Hector's men watched everything unfold. His eyes were cold, as if this were nothing more than a field test. It smells like the sewers. He looked at the golem with satisfaction. That's right, my creation. He ordered flatly, without emotion. Clean up everything here. On the other side, in the tent camp, Hale jumped at the deafening explosion. The sounds getting louder. Seeing Ray about to leave the tent, Hale quickly grabbed his hand. Ray, where are you going? This is different from usual. Worried, Hale didn't want Ray to go alone. Let me go with you if you're leaving. But Ray shook his head, firmly refusing. No. Hale, you wait here. The noise and arguing woke up a boy inside the tent, rubbing his eyes. He came out groggily. Why are you guys still up? Hale bent down, gently reassuring him. Sorry. Did we wake you up? We'll be back inside soon. So go back to sleep. The boy nodded softly. Okay. Ray turned back to Pale, eyes filled with responsibility. Pale understood and gave a small nod. Okay. Ray, I'll stay with the kids here. We can't leave them alone. But Pale added a condition. But don't go too far and come back when you find out what's going on. Ray replied with certainty. All right. I'll be back soon. Ray immediately set off, dashing through the dark alleys toward the source of the tremors. What he saw ahead was a hellish scene of fire, blood, and suffocating chaos. Ray came to a stop before a large boulder. There, he saw a gunman, a member of the Niles group, slumped against it. Only the upper half of his body remained, his head drooping lifelessly. Dried blood formed a long trail across the ground. Ray stood frozen, his heart twisting in pain. Just what happened here? Suddenly, a faint voice startled him. Ray. Ray rushed over. Are you okay? What happened? The gunman wheezed, breath ragged. Those bastards brought a golem with them. The man with the monocle controlled them. Through broken breaths, he recounted everything, from the moment the golem appeared to the brutal slaughter of his comrades. Straining to speak, each word dragged from deep within his lungs. We weren't enough against them. Run away, Ray. Ray said nothing. He watched silently as the man exhaled his final breath. Slowly, Ray knelt down, gently closing the man's eyes with 2 fingers. Nearby, a blood-stained knife lay on the ground. Ray reached over, picked it up. He rose to his feet and stared at the inferno and the smoldering corpses ahead of him. His eyes cold, his heart heavy. At this rate, the Niles group will lose. Ray gripped the knife tightly. He walked forward with a steady gaze. No longer trembling, a fierce determination ignited within him. I need to help Niles. At the same time, under the bridge, heavy breathing echoed in the darkness. Ha. Beneath the bridge, once a refuge for the children, now resembled a scene from hell. The kids who had once slept peacefully in the little tent now lay motionless in pools of blood. In Pale's arms was the sleepy boy from earlier. His small body was cold, completely devoid of warmth. Pale sat amidst the rubble, torn and bloodied, his clothes soaked red. It was likely he wouldn't survive the Golem's ruthless rampage either. Having tried to protect the children, Pale's blood-smeared face was blank, devoid of hope. He looked up at the towering Golem, now charging its next deadly strike, dark violet power swirling in its palm. In his eyes, there was nothing left but despair. Facing the Golem's destructive hand, Pale silently called out the name of his only friend, Ray. Pale closed his eyes. His small shoulders trembled. He accepted his nearing death, as the final tears streamed silently down his cheeks. Even knowing he wouldn't survive, Pale wished for just one thing: that Ray wouldn't return. Don't come back here.